My parents wanted to leave Iran and just come to join the rest of our family that was out in California already. Tehran wasn't necessarily what my parents grew up in. It had
Mm.
changed, just a lot of political reasons, and just they wanted a better future for their
Mhm.
children, for me and my sister. So that was where their journey started. We immigrated out of Tehran into Madrid. So we were in Madrid for a year. I wish I remembered more of it, but
Mhm.
I was 4 or 5 years old. So I know more of what stories were told.
Mhm.
Some crazy times, where we didn't necessarily know what food we were purchasing from the grocery store, but we had to like utilize all our resources. So my dad ended up being the one that would eat the interesting food that me and my sister as kids didn't want to eat. But all jokes. We left Madrid and then we ended up in Glendale, California, and I have not left since without other than like traveling. So, let's get like deeper in Madrid. So, we're there. Me and my sister are young. I started kindergarten there,
Mhm.
or preschool kindergarten, and my sister went up till 4th grade
Mhm.
in Spain. So, she definitely knew the language more, all the above. But yeah, we were there for a little over a year, and so quickly adapted as much as we could. But during that process, so there's translators that come into play because there's so many different people involved.
I
So
have a
yes.
question, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, no.
Where exactly were you staying? Was it a refugee camp?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's a good question. Definitely like a refugee camp. Think of it like a hotel-esque where it's, certain units.
Okay.
But lunch was at a specific time, dinner was at a specific time, very set.
You lived on a campus of sorts, like, you weren't permitted to leave?
You were permitted to leave because like
Okay.
we would go to school, come
Oh,
back, like
okay.
you could get your own groceries and essentials, but there was like a set lunch and a set dinner. There was like a big cafeteria, and everyone would meet there at that time, and that's when you would all like dine together.
All refugee families? And were these all families trying to get into the US, or were
Yeah,
they trying to go elsewhere?
US, yeah,
Okay,
for the
so it
most
was like
part.
a US refugee camp?
Yes.
Okay.
There's Armenians, there's Persians, there's different language barriers that we all have to go through in order to get, our paperwork approved to get to, the
Mhm.
final destination, the United
Mhm.
States. But what happened was we were told towards the end of like this process that the
Yeah.
translator that was like handling 70 to 80 cases
Mhm.
had to go into emergency surgery. We all were like, wish them the best, but this means that, these 80 families are going to have to stay afloat, stay in a
In the camp?
limbo. Yeah, in the
There
camp,
was
in a
one
limbo.
translator for everyone there?
That was the case, and I don't know what the situation was. I can't remember, but it was it was going to take a while to get a replacement translator. It's not it's
Interesting.
it's one of those government businesses where I guess
Okay.
it's not as easy as just like bring on a new crew
Oh,
member.
because like, clearance and
Yeah, I'm
stuff, and also, like,
assuming.
finding someone who, what, can speak
Is in
multiple
Spain,
languages?
but can speak
Okay.
English and Farsi or Armenian, so it was like I guess that played a
Okay.
factor too,
And are
yeah.
you talking about there's, like, 80 Armenian families specifically, or was it the whole camp is 80?
The whole camp was 80 families. There were
Okay.
different, it wasn't all Armenians. So, the
Mhm.
from what I remember, the languages that were spoken was Armenian, Farsi, and English for the most
Okay.
part.
What was the vibe of the camp? Like, did you like it there? Was it bad vibes? Was it, I mean, from your five-year-old perspective?
From what I've been told or what my sisters told me stories
Mhm.
of, the word like refugee camp sounds like scarier and weirder.
It
It was literally
does.
like 80 families, like just in it together. Like some days were a little bit harder. My mom being a vegetarian, it was very hard for her. She hasn't
Mm.
eaten meat since she was 4 years old. It's like a set menu. You
Oh
go in and it's like a
god.
big, beautiful plate of meat. But here she is. She's like, I
They're
can't
like,
do
"Hot dogs
this.
and hamburgers,
It,
welcome to the US."
exactly. So there was its difficult times, but I think we adapted, and my
Mhm.
dad ate sweet yogurt when we thought we were getting tart yogurt, and
Oh,
he
LOL.
survived. He did what he had to
Not
do.
sweet
You know what
yogurt.
I mean, but it was just like when you're expecting to
Yeah.
get
Were
something from the
you all allowed
store.
to cook on your own, or did you just not have the space or setup to cook?
Yeah, no like in unit kitchen. Yeah.
So what was it like? your living situation?
Interesting because
Go on.
I will dabble in this. My mom is a genius because she's a vegetarian and she had to make do with what she could. So
Mhm.
she would buy a rice and then she
Okay.
would buy tomatoes, right? For red rice, like the
Yum.
simplest, or even just regular rice,
Yeah.
right? But the problem is there's no stove in your unit. So she would flip over an iron, like clothes
No
iron,
way.
flip it over and put the pot on
Oh
the iron
my
and like make
god.
yeah, and make food. And the funniest thing is the smell, I mean, it's gonna smell like delicious rice in the
Yeah.
unit and like we could get in trouble. Like,
Really?
yes.
I mean,
But
I guess
all
it
of our
kind of is a
neighbors,
hazard.
yes, definitely a hazard cooking on an iron. But our
I've heard
neighbors,
worse
our neighbors had her back.
'cause they were
No
like,
one,
"As long
yeah.
as we get a little bit."
Literally, it was that, and they also were like, she needs to eat something. Like, if she doesn't eat
Yeah.
meat, like,
God, poor woman.
yeah.
How long were you all there for?
13 months, so a little over
Damn.
a year, yeah. So we went through a rough winter too.
What was rough about it, if you don't mind me asking?
Just 4 people living in one little unit, like, think of it as like a hotel room, basically.
Okay, like a
Um,
one-room situation. Got it,
exactly,
got
yeah,
it.
1 room, 1 bed, like, I'm pretty sure it was a king bed, and it was, like, mom and dad on the outsides, and then me and sis in the middle, so
Mhm.
we did what we had to do, but, yeah, from what I've heard of stories, like, the winter wasn't too easy because it would get really cold.
And resources were tight, and
Yeah.
how did they even pack up their whole lives, or did y'all not take hardly anything?
Mind-boggling. We basically didn't take too much,
Mhm.
um, and that's another thing, right? My dad can't work and provide for his family while he's
In a
chilling
camp,
in a camp,
yeah.
so it was like, we're just gonna have to make do with what we can, and then we'll pick back up and basically rebuild in
Damn.
California, yeah.
So all these families trying to apply for citizenship and move to the US, when they go to these camps, they're literally just kind of in lockdown until they're approved to leave. Like you can't work in that country. You don't it's like you have to save up and live off that money and then have
Basically,
enough to help support yourself when you eventually do hit US soil.
yeah,
Wow, that's a
basically.
lot.
And then, like, at least my family, we're so fortunate. My mom's mom was already in America. So
Okay.
you already know, yes, it's definitely going to be hard uprooting your entire life and moving over. But we did have a support system, my mom's cousins. So,
Okay. So
yeah.
you had
So
open arms waiting for you.
definitely open arms waiting for us, which made things a little bit
Sure.
better. And, you knew there was like light at the end
Okay.
of the tunnel.
You're like, "All right, there'll be a familiar face when we get all through this." And did you all immediately stay with grandma or cousins?
Yeah. We were with grandma and grandpa for a few months.
Mhm.
And then we just had to do our thing, move, moved very close, like a few streets over from my grandparents, and
Okay,
we've been in
cool.
Glendale ever since, yeah.
Wow. So they were there first. Who was the first family member to move to Glendale? Do you remember?
Probably my grandma and
Okay.
grandpa, yeah.
And what made them choose Glendale? I'm just curious.
That was, like, the Armenian community, like, that
Okay.
was, if
Armenian hub
yeah,
in the
basically
US.
basically Armenian hub. I mean, it's very diverse, I'm not gonna say it's, like, 100% Armenians,
Right.
but if you did know a person or two, it was from Glendale, and
Mhm.
then it started to have branched out into, like, some of those other cities that we habitate in.
Glendale is the most concentrated area of Armenians in the US, I believe,
Yes,
right?
yes. I don't wanna say quote me on that, but I'm like,
I'll fact check it.
we have
That's
a
the mecca
very
for
big
Armenians. That's where
diaspora,
you go
yeah.
if you need community, if you need the grocery stores you're used to, all the things that are customary to your culture and
Right? My mom doesn't even ask me this many questions.
LOL. We got off on a little bit of a tangent, but I want to go back to the camps of it all. So the person who's the translator who's overseeing your cases has to have emergency surgery. Then what?
So, someone somewhere had found out, like, my mom is trilingual, Farsi, English, and Armenian, and so they again, were not my parents were not allowed to work while they were there, there was strict rules, but they said, "We wouldn't be able to pay you, but" yeah, these are the terms, like, "We're not gonna be able to pay you, but if you help translate, that is gonna, stop this whole delay, and we're gonna be able to, like, continue to work on these cases while, our original translator had to go into that emergency surgery." So my mom, of course, she's like, "Anything that I can do to help,
Mhm.
So I don't know what various missions they had my mom on, but she was a translator, however much she could.
I'm gonna book your mom as a guest.
I'm assuming there was someone that knew Spanish and English, and
Mhm.
then that's where my mom came in and was the Armenian and Farsi side of it, and then it went from English to English over to whatever needed to be happening in Spanish. So my mom really was like one of the main reasons that 80 families didn't get delayed in the process and were able to come and start their lives sooner
Wow,
than later. Yeah.
that's
So
incredible. She's a hero.
I think so too. Not only for this story, but I think so too. But it's awesome. Like we'll be at the grocery store again, small
Mhm.
town, and they'll just be like, Manya, you don't remember? Like we were in Spain
People from the
together.
camps you run
Yes.
into? Oh my god,
Yes.
no
And they're like,
way.
yeah,
That's so special.
yeah. So it's pretty cool.
Wow. I was gonna ask if your family ever kept in touch with any of the families they met.
Yeah. Not like super close, but
Mhm.
again, we all kind of end up in LA area for the most part. And
Mhm.
so it's cool to just run into people once in a while and know that like my mom
That's
helped.
insane.
Yeah.
You're like, "I knew you in another lifetime in another world."
I know. I know.
That's wild because now how many years has it been? Not to age you.
Not to age me, but we got to Cali in 1996.
Okay.
So 2020,
28.
yeah, it'll be almost 30 years.
Wow. Props to your mom. I am a little frustrated that she wasn't fairly compensated but I'm sure it, like, helped your family's case. Did they kinda, like, push your papers up to the stack?
They 100% pushed our papers up to the stack. And again, they said, look, you really helped us out. Like, we,
Mhm.
again, couldn't pay you. Is there anything we can do for you? And my mom said, I want to make sure that everyone that I've been here from day one at this camp is going to go with me. I always get a little like, it's my allergies. No, but she said it's not going to be a win for me if
Yeah.
everyone that I've been in this process with isn't getting the good news that I'm getting.
Mhm.
And so this is actually I can't believe I almost missed this best part, but they told her she can go back to the camp and tell everybody that everyone's case is, yeah. So she was the one that gave the news. We had a huge party
Oh,
and then everyone started getting on their flights little by little. Yeah,
that's so
I
special.
know.
What an incredible moment of humanity. That just speaks so much to her character. She could have been just like, "I'm getting my family out. I need to put my head down, do what I need to do." But no, she showed up as an advocate and a champion for her community and really helped advocate for so many people who their lives were better for it.
And you know what? It was definitely like a very communal 13 months together. Like I said, no one told on my mom when she was cooking rice in the room when she wasn't supposed to, So it was very much like I got your back as much as I can and vice versa. And I think that's what really was like she was like, I'm not leaving without everyone else that has been going through the same thing with me. One way or another, everyone was there for each other. And that's what my mom could do at the time for everybody. So